Hello, this is our LED slider circuit. In this circuit, we control the LED brightness using a slider that we created on the MIT App Inventor. This app connects to our ESP32 that's connected to the LED via Bluetooth. The app we created is displayed on our phones using a QR code that's created in the MIT app. We programmed this app so it kind of looks and sounds like a video game. So when you press the start button, you get a little sound, and even when you disconnect, you get a little disconnect sound. And during the whole thing, you have like an arcade music playing in the background. The following is a little demonstration of how our app works. Hope you enjoy.
That's the decoding business, right?
Hi, this is our block code for an LED slider on the MIT App Inventor. As you see here in the screen, this is how it will look on the phone. It looks a little wonky on the app, but once we get to the phone, the two buttons look good. Moving on to the code, we have the service UUID, which is what the ESP32 is gonna use to connect to our app. We also initialize the screen and ask for permission from the user to connect to Bluetooth. Once the permission is granted, we connect our phone to the ESP32. I forgot to add that when you initialize the screen, there will also be some gaming music playing in the background. Once we find the correct ESP32, we stop scanning and the list of devices nearby stops popping up. We connect to our ESP32 and then we now program the slider by getting the slider UUID and converting its values into strings that the Arduino or the ESP32 can read. Next screenshot is how we get the buttons to work. The start scanning button will show you the list of the available devices you can connect to on Bluetooth, and it will make a little noise. Also, when you disconnect, there will be a little noise playing throughout. Next part, it just handles how the connection goes through. For example, if the connection goes through successfully, you will get notified that it's connected. The disconnect button goes away. The disconnect button is visible, and then the scanning and the other listed devices is false. And when you disconnect, the scanning will be visible once again, and also the list of devices, and the disconnect button vanishes. Hello, this is our LED slider Arduino code. This code goes in hand with our MIT app. In the app, we created a slider that will send the slider values to the ESP32 via Bluetooth, and these slider values will be updated into the LED. The slider values control how bright the LED is. 0 makes the LED be off, and 255 is the highest it could go, or the brightest. Here we have our libraries. These libraries allow us to use the Bluetooth on the ESP32. In these lines here, we create the server and the characteristics we're going to use for the slider value. These are the variables we used. This line tracks if a device is currently connected. And this line tracks if there was a previous connection. And right here, this stores values, which we honestly don't use in this circuit. This code is part of a previous code we used for another example. That code kept track of ESP time on the ESP32. So this value is not really used in our code. Right here we have the pin we use for the LED. And this is for to store the value, the slider value. We start at 0. Here we have our variables. This is the service UUID, which is what the ESP32 is going to advertise. And this is our slider UUID. This has to be the same as the code in the MIT app. Right here we handle callbacks for when a device is connected or disconnected. If a device is connected, we set the device connection to true. If it disconnects, we set the device connection to false. Here we handle the callbacks when data is received, which from the characteristic, which is the slider value. And like I said, we get the slider value as a string. We convert the string into an integer, and so that the ESP32 can read it. Here we print the slider value to the serial monitor and store the value to the slider input so we can update that into so we could put that into the LED. Here in the setup, we begin the serial monitor and set the LED as an output. This will be the name of our ESP32 and how it will appear when someone's trying to connect to it. Here we create the service with our service UUID. In these lines, we create the characteristic using our slider UUID. We make it readable and writable so we could get the slider values. Here we create the descriptors and enable notifications, which updates the slider position if it's changed. Down here we start the service so people can connect. This advertises our ESP32. Here in the loop, we use this line to control the brightness based on the slider input. This if statement right here can honestly be erased because we used it before to keep track of the ESP32. The timer was on. And since we don't use that for this project, these VLAN could be erased. Right here, we just handle the disconnection logic. If we disconnect the device, it starts to advertise again. And this is also extra if you want to add some other stuff is disconnected. Thank you.